This is like sending money to like a Rwandan prince to help him collect his fortune. This is just a total scam. Hello, I'm Jen, and I make videos about being an expat in Prague. In this video, I'm gonna talk about how to get a flat in Prague and what to expect on the housing market here. Now, this is only a little snippet of my full course. It's a free online course, and we go through everything from detailed instructions on how to find a flat, how to get a visa, how to get a trade license, really how to pack up everything, what to bring, getting airline tickets, and all the things, the little things you need to do once you settle down here. Now, that course is called How to Move to Prague, and you can find it in the link below, or you can get it at dreamprague.com/move. Most of the things I'm going to talk about in this video, you can actually do from home. You can prepare before you arrive, and I definitely recommend that. So the flat I'm currently living in was actually my fourth flat that I looked at. In the first one, there was a kitchen room, but no kitchen. No fridge, no shelving, no stove, nothing. And she told me in a very little amount of English to install my own kitchen. Now you can imagine that that was a bigger challenge than I was willing to sign up for at that point in my journey. So that didn't work out. The next one, the real estate agent and I agreed that I would move in. I went to go sign papers with him, and then he told me that another real estate agent had leased it out from under us. He didn't even know who it was. The owner had just informed him. So that's a weird quirk of the real estate market here. Sometimes there's multiple realtors working on the same place. Probably not in buying a flat, but definitely in renting a flat. So you want to move quickly, I guess, is the only way around that. The last one, they rejected me because I was American, which I've heard doesn't really happen that much. I think maybe she just had a bad experience with someone taking off and not paying the last month's rent, or did some damage and they were American. So they're not legally allowed to deny you housing, but they certainly do for whatever reason. So the real estate market is a little tough. And when I finally found this place, it wasn't even finished. They were still installing the kitchen. And I was like, yeah, where do I sign? That it's mine. I'll take it right now. You just basically have to move quickly. So first you want to think about location. Location is important everywhere. But in Prague, you need to orient yourself. And you can do that by reading the information in my online course, by searching Prague districts, Prague neighborhoods on the internet. So they come in numbers and they also have names. And they don't quite correspond. So it starts in the center and it moves out, just like Paris. It's like Prague 1, Prague 2, Prague 3, Prague 4, like this, and it moves around. So the center is Prague 1. It's totally beautiful, but it's very touristy. You're not gonna find any reasonably priced beer. You're not gonna find reasonably priced restaurants. I go down there a lot for work, but it's not really somewhere where you wanna live. So your goal is to try to live close to the center, but not in the center. So I'm in Prague 2, that's just a little bit out. They say it's expat-y, there's a lot of foreigners living here, although everyone I see outside is Czech, so I don't know what they're talking about. You want to research what the districts are and what kind of suits your needs. You'll also want to consider how close you are to public transportation. Now, Prague has some of the best public transportation in all of Europe. We've got metros, trams, and buses. You buy a card called a Letačka, and I show you how to purchase this in my free course. From this card, you can charge it up every month or even once a year, and then you just have it in your pocket and you just ride all of the public transportation. If you're asked to see if you have paid for the ride, you simply pull it up and they scan it and you're fine. I have a whole video about public transportation and I'll link to it above if you want to check that out. But very briefly, there are 3 metros and they meet in a triangle in the center. You can live far out, but if you're close to the Green Line Metro or the Red Line Metro, you can be in the center and out in another area very quickly. The trams are also very reliable. They come so frequently. And then the buses are more like on the outskirts with a couple buses that like run directly through the city. Also, you want to see how close you are to markets. The supermarkets or hypermarkets, those are the really big ones, and those are like in the outskirts, kind of by the IKEAs. And you don't need a car, but they're for people who have cars. You can get there by metro, but I never go out there. Everything I need is at like a smaller shop within Prague. They have like smaller versions of those markets, and there's a lot of specialty shops. So in my like 2-block radius, there's a cheese shop, a wine shop, a butcher, a fruit shop, several organic small shops, and 2 like standard small grocery stores. And there's like the Blinky, the little herbs shop, so I can get my essential oils across the street. You know, there's just lots of different places that you can go nearby that you don't even have to take the metro or the tram to get to. So when you're searching for a place, make sure you're in an area like that, or at least you have a grocery store that's kind of like on your route, how you would go into the center. How close are you to recreational spaces? I have a dog, and it's really nice to be able to go to a Grovi Sadi, to the dog park there, and just hang out. It's very close in my neighborhood. All the parks have beer gardens, and they're sprinkled throughout the city, but are you close to one? Is that something that matters to you? How close are you to pubs and restaurants? Maybe you like it to be a little bit more quiet, so maybe you don't want to live in like the mixed use part of Prague where there's the residential on top of the restaurants and the stores and the pubs. So the typical Prague flat is pretty awesome, especially coming from Los Angeles, for example, where I come from. I looked up prices for a 430 square foot flat. It cost $1,500 for 430 square feet per month. A similar size place in a good part of Prague costs about $500 US. So that's about 1/3 of the cost. And for what you get, it's quite nice. The typical Prague flat is old, sort of 19th century, really high ceilings, big gorgeous windows, parquet wooden floors. Some of the features are maybe a little outdated or kind of a little old, but that's kind of the charm that you get when you move to Central Europe. An interesting thing about Prague flats is the bathrooms are sort of cut in half. So the kopelna, which is the place where you shower, is separate, in a separate room from the zahod, or the toilet. This is not true in every building, but in a lot of them it is. And at first it seems kind of weird that you have to like go across your apartment to get to the toilet, but if you live with a roommate or you're married, that's awesome to have a separate sort of place for you guys to have your privacy. And like I said, you do have these big, glorious windows. You'll want to make sure that the windows are double paned. Either there's 2 glass windows or there's 1 glass window, but they're double paned because it does get quite cold here in the winter. You're not going to find air conditioning. That's not a thing here. You're just going to sweat. You're going to want to invest in a fan. We've got fans in multiple rooms. But to be honest, I mean, it's getting hotter every year, but to be honest, it's like July, part of August, that's like super hot. But other than that, you're gonna be fine. As far as furnished versus unfurnished, an unfurnished flat is gonna be bare bones. There might be a fridge, there might be a washing machine, but you don't know. Furnished, on the other hand, you're probably gonna have a washing machine, you might have a dishwasher, you're probably gonna have a fridge, a stove, all that type of stuff. You might have utensils, dishes, and pots and pans, probably limited. And you'll have some basic sort of IKEA furniture, a little bit mismatched, it looks like, based on the adverts I see online, but it's the basics, like a desk, a chair, a couch, a bed, basic lamps, that kind of thing. And for furnished, you're gonna pay about $100 to $150 extra a month. Another odd feature of Prague apartments is that sometimes they're set up so that there's a bedroom and a living room and a kitchen. So it was set up for a single family or a couple. Whereas if you're trying to have 2 roommates, you might put one in the living room, but then this person in the bedroom has to walk through the living room to get to the kitchen. This is the pass-through layout, which is fine. You might be able to get a better price on it. but that's just something that's a little bit odd about the layout of some Prague apartments. You're probably not gonna get an elevator. I don't have an elevator. A lot of my friends seem to have elevators, so I guess it's getting more popular, but I just climb 3 stories every day. Well, it's 4-story for the US, but 3 stories every day, up and down, all day long. That's my free gym membership. So if you have mobility issues, you definitely want to look for ground floor. They do have some apartments like that, or first floor if you can. So there are 3 places that are 3 genres of online places to find, and they're all in the course. But just very briefly, there's realtors' websites. If you use a realtor, the advantage is that they're gonna speak English, most likely. The disadvantage is that you have to pay them 1 month's rent. So count on paying 1 month's rent to your realtor, 1 month's deposit to your landlord, and the first month's rent. So you're gonna have to have about 3 times the move-in when you sign the paperwork. There are also websites where you can find flats directly from the owner. The advantage is that you'll only have to pay the deposit and the first month's rent. The disadvantage is that they're probably only gonna speak Czech, and so that initial meeting, that initial question and answer period is gonna be really tricky without a landlord. That's just kind of the risk you run without a realtor. Now, a realtor is not gonna be on call every time you have an issue with your landlord. That's just the beginning. So you're gonna have to figure out how to communicate with them. I did a lot of Google Translate over email. My landlord's daughter spoke some English, and so we were able to kind of text through her when there were issues. And the last way is there are a lot of groups online where you can find people who are looking for someone to fill a room. So there'll be 2 women and they're looking for a 3rd woman. And the benefit of that is that they'll probably have a lot of the place set up, right? They'll have pillows on the sofa, they'll have oven mitts, they'll have pots and pans and all these sort of things that you would have to buy otherwise. And also you'll meet some cool people, hopefully, and make some friends when you get here. The disadvantage is that you're kind of moving into their space, and so it can always go bad and you kind of just end up staying in your room a lot if you didn't like select the person who you want to be your roommate. I give you all of those options in the course, so you can find that link below. When you sign a lease, it's probably going to be a year lease. I was asked to sign a 3-year lease, which I did, but generally they'll ask for a 1-year lease. If you are from the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, you need a visa to live in the Czech Republic. And I go all over that in the visa module of the How to Move to Prague course. But what's very important for you now is that the owner of the flat must sign a document saying that they give you permission to live in their flat for a year. And if you move into this flat with a couple of other people and you don't know the owner, but you just kind of like pay your roommates rent every month, you don't have a relationship with that owner, and that owner doesn't know you and won't sign a document for you that says that they give you legal permission to live there. That will affect you right up at the very beginning. You won't be able to get a visa and you'll have to leave. So if you move into one of those situations, make sure you say you need certain landlord paperwork, and I go over that paperwork and I give it to you in the course. There is a problem that I've heard of people complaining about landlords not giving them their security deposits back at the end. There's not much we can do about it. I mean, you could go to Czech court, and I don't know anyone that wants to try to do that. There's not much recourse. So the only thing I can suggest for that is to be a good tenant, don't break stuff. And if you do find when you first move in that something's broken, take a picture, document it, and send it in an email to your landlord and say, just so you know, there's a crack in this table when I moved in. Because they might not even know that that crack was there. So they have every right to assume that you did it if it's there when you move out. So just be a good tenant, don't break a lot of stuff, and just kind of document and maintain a good relationship with the landlord, and you should be fine. But that's pretty much all we can do to prevent that. Now, it's really fun to do this research from home and just like imagine these gorgeous places you can stay in Prague, but I would highly recommend against signing a lease before you've seen the flat, sending money before you've actually been in a flat. I almost did this. This is like sending money to like a Rwandan prince to help him collect his fortune. This is just a total scam. So don't send money unless you've seen the place, unless you've met the owner. Just do everything you can to prepare. Arrive in Prague, get some temporary housing at a hostel or student housing, and then check out all the areas. By then you'll sort of know the price range. I talk about price ranges in my course, and you can sort of see where you want to be, and then you're ready to go, but you're not just coming blind to the situation. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. If you're interested in hearing more from an expat who lives in Prague, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and I hope to see you in Prague. Tak čau, ahoj.